The first scream never left the room, but everyone felt it. In the bright, humming daylight of the operating theater, under lights meant to save lives, a single violent tug shattered the calm. It was over in a breath, so fast that the monitors barely fluttered, yet it burned into memory like a scar. A chief surgeon's hand tightened where it never should have, yanking a young woman's hair during surgery, and in that instant the balance of power tilted in a way no one noticed, except her. If you believe in kindness, accountability, and second chances, take a moment right now to like this video, comment your thoughts, share it with someone who needs hope today, and subscribe to the channel Kindness Journal. Your support keeps stories like this alive. Mireya Solis had learned early how to disappear without leaving the room. As a child of immigrant parents who scrubbed floors and stitched seams, she mastered the art of becoming small, precise, indispensable. She carried that skill into medicine, where she found comfort in systems that rewarded steadiness and punished ego. On the morning it happened, the hospital glowed with ordinary daylight, sun slanting through high windows, the smell of antiseptic crisp and clean. She stood at the table with hands steady, mind focused, believing, naively, that excellence could protect her from cruelty. The chief surgeon, Alaric Boone, was a legend who wore his reputation like armor. He arrived late and loud, his presence bending the room. He believed pressure forged greatness, and he applied it with theatrical cruelty. When something went wrong that morning, a momentary confusion in the sequence, a second too long on a clamp, he reacted not with correction but with dominance. His hand grabbed Mireya's hair at the crown and pulled, not enough to leave blood, but enough to leave fear. Enough to remind everyone who held the power. No one spoke. The room continued. The patient lived. The monitors hummed. In a profession built on protocol, silence became the protocol. Mireya swallowed the pain and returned to her work, finishing the surgery with the same precision she always had. But something inside her shifted from endurance to clarity. She knew retaliation would only destroy her. She knew loud justice favored the powerful. What she needed was truth, and truth required patience. She spent her nights awake, the daylight replaying in fragments. The yank had been brief, but its echo was long. She noticed the subtle glances from nurses who had seen and said nothing, the interns who avoided her eyes. The hospital was a city with its own weather, and storms were weathered quietly. Mireya felt the weight of a system that protected its stars and buried its wounds. She considered quitting, transferring, shrinking herself again. Then she remembered why she came, to heal without harm, to be better than the worst moments she witnessed. The struggle was not only external. Shame crept in like a second injury. She questioned her competence, replayed the moment, asked herself what she could have done differently. Daylight made everything sharper, the corridors too bright, the smiles too practiced. She attended rounds, took notes, performed flawlessly. The chief surgeon treated her with an exaggerated normalcy, as if the moment had never existed. That, somehow, hurt more. Change began quietly, with documentation. Mireya kept a private ledger of facts, times, dates, procedures, witnesses, written not in anger but in calm ink. She learned the hospital's reporting pathways, the committees, the language that turned experiences into evidence. She volunteered for quality improvement projects, not to curry favor, but to understand how systems listened. She watched how errors were analyzed and how power insulated itself. Knowledge, she realized, was a lever. She found allies without asking for loyalty. A circulating nurse named Petra who believed in standards more than personalities. A senior anesthesiologist, Tomas Ibarra, who spoke rarely but listened deeply. A compliance officer, Renata Klein, whose job was to see what others missed. Mireya never accused. She never dramatized. She shared facts when asked, and only when asked. In daylight meetings, she spoke of patient safety, of professional boundaries, of the way fear corrodes precision. She let the ideas stand on their own. The hospital had cameras in hallways, logs in systems, timestamps everywhere. The operating room itself was sacred and unrecorded, but patterns left trails. Mireya noticed that Boone's outbursts clustered around certain days, certain pressures. She learned to request assignments strategically, ensuring witnesses were present, schedules documented. She learned the language of policy until it felt like a second skin. Her quiet resistance did not make her life easier at first. Boone grew colder, his critiques sharper, his praise non-existent. He tried to provoke a reaction, to push her into a mistake that would justify his contempt. Mireya responded with calm. She arrived early, prepared meticulously, asked clarifying questions that revealed gaps without accusation. Day after day, the daylight bore witness to her consistency. Then the hospital announced an external audit focused on workplace conduct and patient safety. It was a routine thing, prompted by new regulations, nothing personal. Maria submitted her ledger as part of a broader review of operating room culture, anonymized and precise. Others, emboldened by the process rather than her name, added their own observations. A pattern emerged, not of one moment, but of many small violations that together formed a portrait no reputation could erase. The day Boone was called into review, the sun shone through the atrium like any other. There was no spectacle, no raised voices echoed down the halls. The decision that followed was administrative and firm. He was removed from surgical duties pending evaluation, mandated to undergo professional conduct training, his authority curtailed. It was not the downfall some might crave. It was something more fitting. It was consequence. Maria did not celebrate. She returned to her work. Patients still needed steady hands. Interns still needed guidance. The hospital did not become perfect overnight, but a shift occurred. People spoke more freely in daylight. A nurse corrected a surgeon without fear. A resident asked for help without shame. Policies gained teeth. Kindness, it turned out, was enforceable when backed by truth. In the weeks that followed, Maria faced her own healing. She allowed herself to feel anger without letting it rule her. She spoke with a counselor provided by the hospital, learning that strength included asking for support. She slept better. The memory softened, not erased but integrated. She became a mentor, quietly, for those who felt small in big rooms. She taught them how to stand tall without shouting. One afternoon, sunlight flooded the operating suite as Maria led a team through a complex procedure. Her voice was calm, her movements assured. There was a moment, brief and human, when a junior resident faltered. Maria corrected gently, explained clearly, and the work continued. The patient recovered well. Outside, the city moved on, unaware of the quiet revolution that had taken place within those walls. Boone eventually returned in a limited capacity, changed in ways that were not performative. He avoided Maria, not out of hatred, but perhaps out of recognition. Accountability had humbled him. The hospital watched closely. The system, imperfect but learning, held. Near the end of that year, the hospital recognized a group for contributions to patient safety culture. Maria's name was among them, not alone, but alongside nurses, anesthesiologists, and administrators. The recognition came with a handshake and a certificate, nothing flashy. Daylight streamed across the stage. Maria felt a warmth that had nothing to do with applause. It was the warmth of alignment, of values meeting action. Before this story ends, take a moment to comment what kindness means to you, or share a time when quiet courage changed something in your life. Your words matter here. Maria never sought revenge in the way stories often tell it. There was no public shaming, no dramatic confrontation. Her revenge, if it could be called that, was fidelity to her principles. It was building a world where what happened to her could not happen again. It was turning pain into policy, fear into framework, silence into standards. If this story touched your heart, if it reminded you that gentle strength can reshape hard places, please like, comment, and share this video. Subscribe to Kindness Journal so these stories can keep finding the people who need them. On a bright day months later, Maria walked past the operating rooms and paused by a window. Sunlight spilled across the floor, illuminating dust motes like small constellations. She thought of the younger version of herself who had learned to disappear, and she smiled. She had not vanished. She had endured, learned, and changed the weather. And in that quiet, ordinary daylight, no one saw it coming, but everyone felt the difference.